In today's video, we see someone transforming a shipping container into a fully functional house capable of replacing a traditional home. Houses made from these containers have become very popular in recent years because they are more cost-effective and environmentally friendly. Building a house of this type goes through several stages, each of which contributes to making the house cheaper, while at the same time protecting the environment and, of course, giving you peace of mind. Before we start our video, scroll down, hit the like button, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Now, let's take a look at the stages it goes through. He initially placed it in position, brought it on a transport truck, and began setting it into place. He brought two racks and positioned them in the area he had prepared. He started by opening it and removing the nails securing the door's leather covering. He brought a ladder, climbed up to remove the top covering, and successfully took it off. There were some nails on the door, whose purpose he wasn't entirely sure of, but the important thing is that he removed them. He also removed the nails from the upper part, started peeling off the paper that had been attached, then brought some putty and began applying it to the chipped areas. He finished applying putty to both doors, then used another material to fill the gaps, as you can see now. He started sanding this area and removing the excess material that had formed. The material he had put into the gaps began to protrude, so he removed the excess and adjusted it. He sanded the areas he needed to, applied putty over the filled material, and sanded this door as well. He went back to sand and adjust the inside of the door around the hinges and refined the details in those areas using this tool. He brought all the putty and covered the entire door with it, and did the same for the second door. He reattached the leather covering of the second door that he had removed earlier, adjusted it properly, secured the nails, and made sure everything was fixed. He reinstalled the locks and tightened them well. He then brought a material to fill the gaps and give a slight shine. After that, he climbed on top of the container and began wiping it down lightly. He took the same tool again and started sanding, removing rust and preparing the surface. He brought a sheet-like material and applied it to areas with small holes or openings. Then he applied putty over it, making sure it was even, and swept away the dust. He took some blue paint and started applying it to areas with rust or damaged spots. He brought a slightly thicker piece of metal, placed it at the edge, took measurements, and used his tool again to level and sand it. He brought another piece of metal and began welding it section by section until it was complete. He cut a piece from one section and another from the second, so they could be joined together and welded as one. He repeated this process on the other side. Next, he applied another layer of material so the pieces would stick and stay fixed together. He cut a new piece of metal and placed it in the middle as well. He then brought some light gray paint and started installing fixed hinges, positioning them next to each other. He brought a lot of wood, slightly thicker than a typical bed frame slot, and secured them into these hinges. He nailed them in place and tied them tightly with a rope to prevent them from falling. He continued fixing all the nails until every piece was secure. He then brought more wood and attached it to the existing wood from the side, securing it with nails from all angles. He also brought smaller pieces of wood and placed them in between the larger ones, nailing them in carefully. Because of the precision with which he cut them, no screws were necessary. Afterward, he went inside the container, brought some metal, and took measurements for the areas he needed. He cut multiple sections from the container interior, which resembled windows, though it's unclear exactly what he planned to do with them. He measured a small area from one side at the top and from the other side at the bottom, then sanded it and polished the edges of the cut sections. He also brought a table-like structure made from tiles. He brought some metal, took the measurements, and cut the sections he needed. He decided to do this process with 3 pieces of metal together, welded them, and made a second one. Then he brought 4 pieces of metal, arranged them into a square, and welded them together. He placed it into the window and made 3 units like this. He began sanding and polishing the remaining edges of the window. He brought the metal frame he had made, placed it again, and welded it. He then cut a slightly larger piece, took measurements, sanded the edges, polished them, and cut the top ends. He brought 2 long pieces of metal and welded them to the sides. He went outside, got a ladder,
climbed beside the container and started sanding and removing the existing rust. He brought a putty-like material and applied it to one side, then did the same on the other side. He then brought the gap-filling material and applied it to the openings, letting it dry, and repeated the process on the opposite side. Afterward, he leveled and adjusted the material on both sides. He brought another putty-like substance and applied it over the filled areas, covering the entire exterior of the container with putty. Next, he brought some metal, cut several pieces, and also brought wood, cutting it into sections as needed. He placed the metal over the wood to make sure the dimensions were correct. He brought more wood and drilled holes for the nails. He applied a gloss material to all the wood and painted the metal black. He then took all the wood and secured it firmly with nails. He got a ladder, went to the container side, and climbed to the door opening he had made. He brought metal, measured it, cut it, and created a hole in the middle. He made 4 units like this and installed them above the door he had built. He then brought a long metal piece and mounted it on top. This metal piece became the track for the door, but it turned out he needed 2 tracks because one wasn't enough to support the metal with the wood. He installed both tracks and ensured everything was aligned properly. He cut a small piece to install the balcony and successfully mounted it.
He got everything properly aligned and fixed. The next step was to remove the container's flooring. He began sanding and polishing the floor's posts. Afterward, he brought wooden planks and applied a finish to the floor using a glossy material. Then, he cut the wooden planks to fit the floor, placing them between each post and securing them with a hammer. At the far end, he added some metal to fill the gaps and applied more of the finishing material. He continued applying this material across the entire floor. He brought some foam, cut it according to the floor dimensions, and placed it between each post. Next, he took wooden planks, cut them in half to fit the floor, and completed the entire flooring. He gave it a clean finish, flipped and rotated the pieces, and then secured them with nails. After fixing all the planks, he applied a glossy layer. He then brought the material used to fill gaps and applied it to the edges and sides of the door to seal them. He cut a circular opening in the floor to install a pipe, measured it precisely, and mounted it. He laid down black tarpaulin on the floor, aligned it with the 2 pipes, and sealed it along the edges. Next, he brought cement and bricks, placing them side by side and checking alignment with a metal piece. He filled all the gaps between the bricks with cement, creating a clean line from right to left, and carefully filled the center with cement as well. He then brought more tarpaulin and placed it in the second section of the container, which had not been covered before. He applied cement around this side near the pipe, cut a thin pipe, and connected it to a smaller pipe in a different direction. He added sand on top until it was completely covered, applied cement in the middle, mixed cement with water, and spread it across the entire section. He then sanded it and refined it until it was perfectly smooth. Finally, he brought the solar panel boards he had chosen, opting for renewable energy that would supply power continuously without stopping. He connected the electrical connections and brought a generator, placing it outside. Then he brought metal and installed it along the lower edges of the container on the side. He attached the drill and made several holes, securing the metal to the floor with nails. He also installed metal in front of the container's main door. He brought another metal piece and fixed it over the window. Above that, on the ceiling, he added another piece of metal. He brought a long metal piece and installed it vertically next to the window, repeating the same process on the opposite side. He secured them all with nails and placed a small metal piece between the 2 window metals. At the main door, he placed metal from the edges toward the center, adding several pieces. He welded some metal pieces together and mounted them in the middle of the container, securing them with nails. He created a second and a third structure to close off the area. In each of these, he installed small metal strips in the middle and fastened them with nails. On the ceiling, he added another metal piece slightly behind the main door. Then, above the larger metal structure he had installed, he added one more piece to the ceiling. He ran a wire across the ceiling between the metal pieces and connected it to all the metal. From outside the container, he drilled holes and ran multiple wires through them. He applied material to secure the wires inside. He then brought a window and installed it in the opening he had previously made. He brought several more windows and fixed them into the other openings. Next, he brought metal to continue filling the remaining spaces in the ceiling and added vertical metal pieces as well. He brought white panels, cut them to the required dimensions, and installed them outside the windows along the edges. He brought a water tank, cleaned the faucet, and reassembled the parts he had removed. He opened an additional hole in the container and inserted a thin pipe, then added a second pipe to change its direction. He made another opening and inserted another pipe connecting it to the blue device. Finally, he installed a faucet from the outside and tested it. It worked perfectly, and everything was functioning as intended.
He came from the side of the container, brought 3 metal pieces, and installed them. He then arranged 2 metal pieces in a specific configuration, as you can see, and fixed them to the first metal piece. He brought another metal piece to act as a sun shield. Next, we see him bringing a heater and connecting it to the pipes underneath. Then he took the foam he had prepared earlier and placed it on the floor, positioning it along the sides behind the metal structures. He applied spray foam between the metal on the container walls, covering all the sides, and carefully leveled and adjusted it. He brought light green panels and began attaching them to the metal, constructing a sort of room using these panels. He covered all the metal with the panels and secured them with nails. On the side with the window, he adjusted the panels to fit and fixed them with nails. He also secured a panel on the upper section and closed the gap between panels with another panel, fastening everything with nails. Next, he brought more foam and placed it on the ceiling. He took a long panel and secured it to the ceiling with nails. Then installed 2 small panels to fill the remaining gap, securing them to the sides. He applied putty over the nail heads so they wouldn't be visible. He cut a circular opening for the electrical wiring, drilled holes in the sidewalls for the light switches, and left a space in the floor for a pipe. He installed a section of the pipe, then positioned the drain component, covered it with a panel, and added a mesh to allow water to pass through. He completed the putty work around the remaining areas. He cut wood, positioned it, and secured it with clamps. Afterwards, he removed the clamps and cleaned the wood. He repeated the same process on the opposite side. He added long metal pieces along the edges to protect the wooden layer. He cut 2 openings in the wall to install the shower faucet, made a top opening, installed the shower, adjusted it, and tested it. It worked perfectly. Then he went outside to adjust the heater, added a new layer of metal, and secured it to the support of the sun-facing metal structure. He brought another piece of metal and installed it on the side. He then took a hinge and another piece of metal, mounted them together to create a door that would protect the heater, and locked it with a latch. He went back into the bathroom, brought tiles, and installed them on the bathroom floor, completing the entire bathroom. The tiles were initially secured with clamps, which he later removed. He bought new clamps, then brought green paint and painted this section. He brought a trapezoid-shaped metal piece and a piece of wood, applied a glossy finish, and attached it to the metal trapezoid. He added another wooden piece on top, cut an opening in the middle for the faucet, and installed the sink. After that, he mounted the mirror and secured it. He fastened the sink with nails and installed a stylish lamp, wiring it properly. He brought the lamp's base and secured it with nails on both sides, applying material underneath to fill any gaps. He adjusted the water connections and installed the final part, the flush system. He then went on top of the container and applied tarpaulin, covering the entire ceiling. He brought a white fabric, a lot of bricks, and started positioning and leveling them. He placed solar panels on top, then brought wooden planks, cut the lower parts, sanded them, and installed them inside. He secured a long piece of wood behind them and then installed the remaining wooden planks, completing the electrical wiring as needed. He removed a section of the window that had white material, replaced it, brought wood, cut a piece, painted it black, and reinstalled it in the container. He fixed the electrical connections so the lights would work, and thankfully they all turned on successfully. He brought a long LED strip, mounted it on top, applied a coat of paint, and painted the entire container white. He brought metal, welded it together, and installed it under the door, painting it black. After securing it, he placed wooden planks on top, applied a glossy finish, drilled a long opening, and installed bricks around the staircase, filling the interior with cement and leveling the floor. He then went into the bathroom, installed a metal frame to hold the glass, and successfully mounted the glass in place.
He then returned to the sink and installed the support, brought a piece of wood, polished it, and placed it on top, creating a shelf. With that, the bathroom was completed. He then went outside to adjust the flooring. He brought wooden planks shaped like tiles and began arranging and securing them to the floor. After that, he brought a wooden frame, leveled it, sanded it, and installed wheels underneath. He applied a glossy finish. He went inside and opened the top door, installing a track and mounting the door he had built, which now opened and closed easily. He marked the walls with tape, then brought paint putty and coated the walls, leaving the area he planned to paint. He brought wooden planks, flipped them, and broke off the lower sections. He cut additional pieces and installed them, creating openings for nails. He added hinges from the inside and tested the lock. They worked perfectly. With that, the bed was completed. Next, he brought a large piece of metal, cut a section to fit the metal frame, and installed the kitchen sink within it. He brought a pink board, measured the section he wanted to remove, adjusted it, and cut a square opening for the stove. He cut another piece for the sink. At this stage, he was still checking the measurements and had not yet permanently installed anything. He then took a perforated metal frame, mounted it around the board to secure it, and applied putty to the entire metal frame, leveling it carefully. He installed the stove and tested it. It worked perfectly. He adjusted the sink faucet, mounted the faucet, and installed the sink. Then he brought a TV stand, placed a screen or a device on it, and secured it. He brought shelf brackets, installed them, and mounted the shelves. He created a track under the countertop for a drawer, installed a second drawer, sanded and polished it, and cleaned it. He also installed handles so they would open and close easily. Next, he brought striped wooden panels and installed them in the designated area, securing them firmly. He brought 3 shelves, placed them next to the striped panels, and added a divider between them. He then started installing wooden planks under the container. He brought a metal frame, secured it, and mounted wooden planks on top, creating a structure similar to a countertop. He cut an opening in the ceiling and installed a chandelier. He placed the rug and finished arranging everything. With that, the living area was complete. He went on top of the roof, brought long wooden planks and secured them. He wrapped them all with rope, giving the floor a light red color. He brought metal, installed it horizontally, and adjusted it carefully. He brought 2 chairs and a table matching the floor, added metal along the edges, and then mounted wooden planks on top, creating a balcony railing. It acted as a base, but visually it looked very unique and attractive. This was today's video. Goodbye.